Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are going to try and swap those vague ideas about finding the one for something a bit more concrete.
Something like neurochemistry and maybe some behavioral science.
Exactly. We're doing a detailed investigation into how attraction actually works, really moving past the whole fate and, rom-com cliches.
Yeah, getting into the evidence.
Our source material today is The Psychology of Love, How to Attract Your Soulmate, and we're pulling insights directly from that.
It's interesting how the material immediately frames this whole soulmate thing differently. It kind of accepts right off the bat that love is this really complex psychological puzzle.
Built from what, exactly?
Well, it's a mix. You've got attachment styles playing a huge role, these ancient evolutionary drives, and definitely a potent stew of neurotransmitters in the brain.
Okay.
So the real question isn't just if there's that spark, that connection, but what actually governs it? And maybe more importantly, how can we use that knowledge?
Right. How do we move from just, hoping for lightning to strike to actually understanding the conditions for a good connection?
Precisely. And the core idea, the thesis that really jumps out is this, that intense chemistry. It absolutely has to line up with something quieter, enduring compatibility.
Chemistry and compatibility. Got it.
And the thing you absolutely need, the non-negotiable piece to manage both, it's self-awareness.
Ah, okay. So self-awareness is like the foundation for everything else.
Think of it like the blueprint, yeah. If you don't really get the structure of your own needs, your values, what makes you tick, you're essentially building blind, basing huge life choices on, I don't know, a feeling that might just be temporary.
Or what other people think you should want.
Exactly.
All right, let's start with that initial jolt, the lightning bolt. It feels like magic, right?
Uh-huh.
But the science sees it more like fireworks inside your head.
A full-on fireworks factory, yeah. That's a good way to put it. What's happening is your brain is kicking off this powerful neurochemical cocktail. It's basically designed for survival, really, to grab your attention and push you towards action.
Okay, so what's in this cocktail?
First up, you get these big surges of dopamine. Dopamine is all about reward, pleasure, motivation. It's why that early attraction can feel so addictive.
Addictive like?
Like it hits the same brain pathways that light up when you crave chocolate or money or even, drugs. It makes you want more of that person, that interaction.
So that feeling of obsession, almost. Can't stop thinking about them, replaying conversations. That's the dopamine talking.
That's a huge part of it, yeah. Your brain is rewarding you for focusing on this potential mate. Then, layered on top, you've got stress hormones, norepinephrine and epinephrine, adrenaline, basically.
Okay, and what do?
That's where the physical stuff comes in. The racing heart, maybe your hands tremble a little, pupils dilate, senses feel sharper.
The roller coaster feeling?
Exactly. Your body's on high alert. It's like you're facing a challenge or something really important is happening.
Well, wait, if that fluttery feeling is partly a stress response, how do we know if we're drawn to excitement or just drawn to chaos or instability? Doesn't that blur the lines?
That is such a key question, and it's exactly why we have to talk about compatibility later. That initial rush, that stress response, it's just the body shouting, pay attention.
Yeah.
It doesn't automatically mean this is good for you long term. And then there's another piece. Serotonin levels actually tend to drop during intense infatuation.
Serotonin that regulates mood.
Yeah.
And obsessive thoughts.
Right. So that drop can contribute to that cycle of, obsessive thinking, checking your phone constantly, analyzing every little thing they said, worrying. It has shades of mild OCD almost.
Wow. Okay, so knowing this chemical storm is happening.
Right.
It doesn't make the feeling less real, but it helps you see it's just the start. It's an entry point, not the whole story.
Precisely. It gives you perspective. You realize the high is a signal, maybe an invitation, but not necessarily destiny calling.
And the biology gets even more specific, right? Especially with smell.
Oh, absolutely. Olfaction, our sense of smell, is ancient, deeply hardwired. The source material gets into pheromone research here.
Pheromones, actual chemical signals.
Well, the research suggests we might detect genetic compatibility through scent. Specifically, we seem to gravitate towards partners whose immune system genes, the MHC or major histocompatibility complex, are different from our own.
That sounds familiar. Isn't that the T-shirt study?
That's the classic one, yes. Women were asked to smell T-shirts worn by different men.
Just worn normally. Or after exercise.
After exercise to get a good concentration of scent. And generally, they preferred the smell of men whose MHC profiles were significantly different from theirs.
Why? What's the point of that?
The theory is evolutionary. Pairing with someone with different immune genes gives potential offspring a broader range of defenses against diseases, a more robust immune system.
So deep down, our noses are trying to pick the best biological match for healthy kids. That's kind of wild.
It is pretty wild. It's like this silent evolutionary whisper guiding attraction. But here's a fascinating twist from that study.
Yeah?
The preference often got muted or even reversed if the women were taking hormonal contraceptives.
Seriously. Birth control pills changed who they were attracted to, smell-wise.
It suggests it can, yeah. Which just underlines how deeply biological that initial pull is, and also how modern life, modern chemistry can sometimes interfere with those ancient signals.
Okay, let me try and sum this up. Chemistry.
Yeah.
It's real, it's biological, it feels amazing, it involves dopamine, adrenaline, maybe even smell.
You got it.
But just relying on that, chasing that initial high, it's risky. You can easily mistake all that intensity for real connection, for intimacy.
Exactly. Which leads us perfectly into the next piece, compatibility.
Right. So the source material sets up this key difference. Chemistry is like the gas pedal.
Yeah.
Right. Makes things go fast.
Full throttle sometimes.
But compatibility, that's the steering wheel. Maybe the GPS. It gives you direction, ensures you don't just crash.
And maybe even the brakes sometimes. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Propulsion versus direction. And this is where things often fall apart, once that initial dopamine wave starts to settle down.
So what makes for sustainable compatibility? The kind that lasts. The sources break it down, right?
They do, into sort of three main pillars, going way beyond just liking the same movies or whatever.
Okay, pillar number one.
Value alignment. This is huge. Do you basically agree on the big stuff? Money, how you view it, spend it, save it. Family, what are the expectations, kids? Spirituality, maybe. Core beliefs about how the world works. Social responsibility.
Yeah, if you're fundamentally opposed on those big life things, that's going to cause constant friction.
Constant friction. And then the second pillar, this one causes so much drama, attachment style synergy.
Attachment style. Secure, anxious, avoidant. That whole area.
Exactly. Now, ideally, secure people pairing with other secure people, that generally leads to the highest satisfaction. Makes sense.
But we see anxious avoidant pairings all the time, don't we? Why is that so common if it's often so difficult?
Because the chemistry can feel incredibly intense. That push-pull dynamic, the anxious person chasing, the avoidant person withdrawing, it creates this high drama that people mistake for passion.
Like a cycle. The avoidance triggers the anxiety. The chasing reinforces the avoidance. Ugh.
It's a really tough cycle. Often feels exciting at first, but it's usually rooted in unmet needs, not genuine compatibility. It's often mistaken for deep, true passion when it's actually, well, often just dysfunction.
Okay, so values, attachment styles. What's the third pillar?
Personal growth orientation. Basically, are both people willing to learn, to evolve, to actually work on the relationship as a skill, not just something that magically exists?
That feels really important.
It connects directly to some fascinating research mentioned in the sources by Nee and Reese. They talk about destiny beliefs versus growth beliefs in relationships.
Destiny versus growth. What's the difference?
Well, someone with strong destiny beliefs thinks relationships are either meant to be or they're not. Love should be effortless. If you hit problems, it's a sign it's wrong.
Yeah, I know people like that. The first major argument happens and they're like, see, we're not compatible.
Exactly. They tend to react poorly to conflict, maybe bail, maybe shut down. But someone with a growth belief sees compatibility as something you build. You develop it through effort, communication, learning new skills together. They're more likely to stick through the tough patches and actually work on things.
That makes a huge difference in resilience, I bet.
Absolutely.
But sometimes, doesn't that intense chemistry, that feeling of wow, happen precisely because you're actually quite incompatible in ways that are psychologically charged?
Yes. And this brings us to a really insightful concept from the sources, the hidden mirror.
The hidden mirror sounds intriguing.
It draws on Jungian ideas about projection. The core idea is that we're often intensely drawn to partners who reflect back to us parts of ourselves that we haven't owned or healed, our shadow, as Jung called it.
So like disowned parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
Things we don't see or accept.
Exactly. Maybe unhealed wounds, unrecognized needs. That super intense feeling of familiarity, like I've known you forever. It might not be a soulmate signal. It might be your psyche recognizing a pattern, an old dynamic, a chance to replay something. and maybe, hopefully, heal it this time.
Could you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you're very, very responsible, maybe a bit repressed. You might feel this explosive chemistry with someone who's incredibly spontaneous, maybe even a bit reckless or emotionally unavailable.
Why? Because they represent the freedom you haven't allowed yourself.
Precisely. That volcanic chemistry, as the source puts it, is there because they embody something you've pushed away in yourself, maybe a fear of chaos or a longing for freedom. The sources mention a couple, Jordan and Ava.
Yeah.
Their connection was off the charts, intensity-wise, but it was fueled almost entirely by unresolved attachment issues from their pasts lighting each other up.
So the high chemistry was a sign. But a sign of what?
A sign that there was potential for deep healing, for sure, an opportunity. But it absolutely did not guarantee they'd both do the work, that they'd grow together. Without awareness, you just end up repeating the old pain with a new person. High drama, then burnout.
Okay, so if we want to choose genuine compatibility, not just get swept away by that potentially misleading chemical compulsion, we need to see clearly.
We need clear vision, absolutely. Which means turning the focus inward. And that brings us to Chapter 4, the source material, and what it calls the essential tool for all of this, self-awareness.
Define self-awareness in this context. What does it actually mean?
It's basically the ability to notice what's going on inside you, your thoughts, your feelings, your physical sensations, and to interpret them accurately, to understand why you're feeling what you're feeling and put it in context.
Like having an internal dashboard.
That's a perfect metaphor. The instrument panel for your life. Without it, you're just reacting, flying blind. Every crush feels like destiny. Every flicker of anxiety feels like proof something's wrong.
And the sources mentioned something pretty startling here, the self-awareness gap.
Oh, yeah. This is wild. Research suggests something like 95% of people think they're self-aware. They rate themselves highly on it.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
But when you look at objective behavioral criteria, only about 10 to 15% actually meet the standard for high self-awareness.
Wait, what? So maybe 85% of us are kind of fooling ourselves about how well we know ourselves.
That seems to be the implication. And you can see how that gap plays out catastrophically in relationships, right? It's why people constantly confuse that initial infatuation buzz with deep, sustainable alignment.
Okay, so why is getting more self-aware so crucial for attraction specifically?
Well, first, it helps you untangle your authentic needs and desires from the scripts you inherited. The source calls these the early mirrors from childhood.
Early mirrors. What does that mean?
It's about the messages you soaked up, unconsciously, from your parents or early caregivers about what love is supposed to look like, how relationships work.
So if your early mirror showed you that love meant constantly trying to please someone who is distant.
Then you're primed as an adult to find the frustration of chasing an unavailable partner familiar, maybe even exciting. You might misinterpret it as passion or depth. Self-awareness is about seeing that pattern, recognizing it's an old script, and choosing differently.
Okay, so seeing the old patterns. What else?
It helps you clarify your core values. We talked about value alignment being key for compatibility. Well, you can't align with someone else's values if you aren't even clear on your own.
Knowing what truly matters to you, non-negotiably.
Exactly. Your North Star. So you don't keep picking partners who deep down dismiss the things you cherish most. Maybe you value creativity and expression, and they value order and predictability above all else. That clash is inevitable unless you know what your priorities are.
Makes sense. And this leads to dealing with emotional triggers.
Yes, recognizing your emotional triggers. This is a big part of self-awareness in relationships.
And a trigger isn't just feeling upset, right? It's more specific.
Right. It's usually a rapid, intense emotional reaction that feels way out of proportion to whatever just happened in the present moment.
Why? Because it's connected to something from the past.
Exactly. It's hooked into an old wound, like maybe getting instantly panicked or furious when a partner is late texting back.
Okay.
And if you trace it back with self-awareness, you might realize it connects to a deep childhood fear of being abandoned or forgotten. The delayed text isn't the real issue. It just poked that old bruise.
So the goal isn't to eliminate triggers entirely. Maybe that's impossible.
Probably impossible, yeah. The goal is to recognize them when they happen, to pause, label it. Oh, okay, that's my old abandonment fear acting up. That's not necessarily about this specific situation.
Yeah.
And then consciously choose a more constructive response.
So you're not just hijacked by your history.
Precisely. You move from being controlled by your attachment system to actually collaborating with it. Understanding its signals but not letting them dictate your every move, that's huge for building security.
And there's an outward benefit too, right? The source mentions boundaries.
Absolutely. As you become more self-aware, you naturally get better at setting healthy boundaries, knowing what's okay with you and what's not. And boundaries signal self-respect, security, autonomy.
Which are attractive qualities in themselves.
Very attractive, especially to secure, healthy potential partners. Boundaries are actually essential for maintaining desire long-term. Hashtag tag outro. So if we kind of pull all these threads together, we started with that initial spark, the chemistry, the biology.
The fireworks factory.
Right. Then we move to the structure needed for something lasting, compatibility, shared values, growth mindset.
The steering wheel and the blueprint.
And self-awareness is the key. It's the tool that lets you navigate the chemistry, choose for compatibility, and understand your own patterns so you don't just repeat the past. It links it all together.
There's a really powerful idea in the source material we should leave people with. It's this notion that the more you work on becoming your own soulmate, meaning really understanding yourself, your patterns, your values, your true desires, the more likely you are to actually attract and recognize a partner who resonates on that same deeper level.
So destiny isn't just passive, it's participatory. You co-create it through your own inner work.
Exactly that.
Okay, so here's maybe a final thought, something for you to really mull over. Focus on coherence.
Coherence.
Yeah. When your inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, your values actually aligns with your outer world, your actions, your choices, how you show up. When you live with that kind of integrity,
What happens?
you basically emit a relational blueprint, as the source puts it. It signals, I bring my whole authentic self to the table, and I'm looking for someone who can do the same. That internal congruence, that steadiness, that might just be the most powerfully magnetic force there is for attracting that deep soul-level connection everyone's really looking for.
To get more details about the psychology of love, how to attract your soulmate, click the below link to get the book. Subscribers to get more content like this.